capitalism to succeed and for people to work in the marketplace to raise their standards of living doesn't need just capital, but it also needs the rule of law, which I think was the point that you were making. And it seems that throughout the world today, the rule of law in many countries is, eroding. I've seen it clearly on the other side of the Atlantic in North America, that you have the rule of men rather than the rule of law, which is really fundamentally changing, the structure in which the United States operates. But the United States is not unique in that regard. It's happening in many places.
Yeah, I would oppose that argument to some extent. You are spot on regarding all the developed countries. But we have developed countries are only 19% of global population. For us, it's obvious that we always debate these countries first because they have been the most powerful during our age, at least. But I think the world is changing. The world is changing not only in terms of economic importance, but also in the way we need to fraud our citizens or not. And I wouldn't be surprised to find a lot of the countries we describe today as emerging market countries in a much better democratic and economic situation than we are. So the wave is turning the other way around, and we have a hard time to understand and to realize, not we too, but I think we as nations, that we are not any longer the powerhouses we had been for the last 100 years. But this change is very natural. Whenever I have presentations, I often ask my audience, who do you think had been the most powerful nations and the most wealthy nations in terms of per capita GDP before the Second World War? And of course they start with the UK, with the US. The UK was not relevant at all. The US was ranked number 3. But hardly anybody comes to Uruguay or
Argentina
or Czech Republic. And there's a reason why so many Europeans migrated to countries like Uruguay and Argentina. There was wealth around. And what has left, if you look what happened to Latin America over the last 60 years, it was more or less everything bad you can imagine happening there, politically, dictatorship, economically, inflation, recessions. So within 15 years, countries, you would argue, they are so strong and prosperous, are a real economic disaster.
I can relate to that because in my own case, my own family, my grandparents, when they were deciding to emigrate from Europe to the Americas, they were, as I understand it, were undecided as to what, this is in the 1920s, whether to go to Argentina or to the United States, because at that moment in time, from a European perspective, both of them had great potential, great wealth, already had a very high standard of living. And as it turned out, they chose the United States rather than Argentina. But
lucky so.
Yeah, luckily so. But I could have been born an Argentinian instead of being born in the States.